This episode of the All Automotive Podcast is brought to you by our friends at GeForce Automotive. GeForce Automotive is a certified service center through Auto Value. Want to make an appointment? Go to their website at www.geforceautomotive.net. Click on the banner that says Make an Appointment and make your appointment today. And now, the next episode of the All Automotive Podcast. All right, welcome back to another episode of the All Automotive Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Clausen, and today we got a guest interview today. We're going to be talking to the CEO and founder of the website called WhipFlip. His name is Roger Clappe, and we're glad to have him on the show today. So we all know about these car buying sites, right? Carvana, CarMax, all the other ones that are out there. I had a show on it a couple of episodes ago. Car buying, is it worth it for you? Well, what Roger's come up with is a website where all they do is buy your car. You've got an extra car you want to get rid of. This is your avenue to get rid of that car. They're in several states around the country. They're growing as we speak. And we're glad to have Roger on the show today. At the beginning of this interview, though, I did have some technical difficulties with our connection with Roger. So the little few seconds of the first part of it got cut off, and I do apologize for that. But basically what I did was welcomed him to the show, and then I asked him a question: where did you get your start? So that's right where it's going to start, is after I ask the question. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you got your start in the automotive business. So without any further ado, here's my guest interview with Roger Clappe.
I started out on the mechanical and collision side. I'm a proud tech graduate of Del Castle, and located in Wilmington, Delaware, which basically where I resided in northern Delaware for practically all my life. So cars, I would say, have been in my blood. And from that, I was able to go into automotive technology startups over the past 13 years or so, from consumer acquisition to dealer liquidation, kind of both sides of that ecosystem, to and ultimately create WhipFlip.com, or WhipFlip as we call it. And I would say why we exist, or why I am here today, why I created something like this was, coming from both sides. You look at consumers, right? Selling a car is one of the toughest, most expensive assets that they own. Right. And the process of selling a car has been the same for decades. And consumers now demand at-home, quick digital transactions with practically anything that they buy or service that they call for, right? So when you're thinking about how can we take this very complex, very expensive asset and create like this experience that is common now, like you see with like a DoorDash or an Uber, ordering a pizza, all done through like a smartphone type of experience.
Right.
We wanted to match that. That's what we were influenced by. And we bring good change and deliver an experience that they've been evolving toward for the last decade. And when we think about the other side of the industry, is that especially in today's market, automotive market, good inventory is very hard to find from dealerships out there. And I think there's plenty of great ways to source inventory, whether it's auctions, consumers coming into the showroom that hopefully have something that fits what they're looking to retail in the future. And you have someone like us that we work with all the dealers and we provide them inventory as well, that we source. So we we created this all-encompassing ecosystem built on real AI technology that makes, selling a car super easy and buying a car super easy for our commercial partners.
So now what states are you in? Do you sell like all across America? Like I'm in Michigan.
We definitely sell all across America. In terms of our actual footprint, We are now, I think, covering in whole or in part about 10 states.
Okay.
So we're growing. Last year was, I think, a couple, small, like two.
Right.
So we have definitely increased our footprint over the last year, and are continuing to do so here this year as we start to march across the country.
Good. Good. Well, I know you're in Ohio, and it's a neighboring state for us. And that, so do you have any plans to get to Michigan this year, or is there plans for other states coming up in the next couple of weeks or months? Or
Yeah, there's plans. I think Michigan is definitely one that we have circled for a while. When we're going to be there, it could be this year, it could be the following. I mean, look, it's Motor City, right out there.
Exactly.
So, what better way to pay homage, right, to the automobile other than to put Whip Flip there? And I think that we have a lot of dealers that buy from us out there, a lot of fleet companies that buy all around that Midwestern area. So there's a lot of demand, and we definitely have our eyes set on a couple of key markets to start off with, additional markets to start off with in 2023. And it's all based on the consumer demand. Look, we have a big ear to the customer, and I would say this, our referral rate is very high at WhipFlip. Look,
Right.
We pride ourselves on a 5-star Google rated experience. And from that, the byproduct of that is referrals. But the referrals necessarily don't reside in the same state that we may be in. Hey, look, my uncle, my grandmother, my mother, my son, whatever, lives in here. And we continue to hear, like, where should we be? Sometimes we put that out there. Where should we be? That there could be a lot of demand for what we provide consumers to really help them.
Yeah. And I think, living in Michigan for the last 25, 30 years, I've come to find out that, the penetration of the big three, GM, Chrysler, and Ford, it's just like, it's everywhere. And that I was looking at some numbers the other day at the shop, and, I see our top three are the big three, and then it's Honda, Toyota from there. And, with the inventory, like you were saying, the inventory is tough as far as the new cars are going. And, I think people are getting to be a little leery. And I did have an episode on this last year in September about the online car buying process with Carvana and all them. What do you see? What's the difference between, let's just say, Carvana and Whip Flip? I know you're just buying cars. Is that all? I mean, what can a customer expect? They don't want to trade it into the dealership. They just click on you and go.
Yeah. And I would say this, I think Carvana is a fantastic, I think, bleeding edge company, right? And we want to start to become the leading edge. And I think Carvana is showing everyone out there what automotive e-commerce can look like. It's certainly the future in different variations. I think with them, they focus a lot on, obviously, the retail side. So putting something in the driveway.
Right.
They do have a service where they take a vehicle from the driveway. And I'll just say, like, in my own opinion, I think that they're going after, just like any other dealership would, cars that fit their profile. And they'll pay a very good market dollar for that. We do the same exact thing. But all cars are welcome for us. Every offer that we provide is not based on whether we want the car and don't want the car, what we sell better, what we don't sell better. Every car gets a consistent top market value from WhipFlip versus the others. It's not a fault of Carvana. It's not a fault of CarMax or anything like else. They just are on the other side of the fence heavier than on our side, which is pure acquisition. So we kind of stay in our lane, right? We have nothing to sell the consumer. That's not what we do. We're here to buy from you, to complete the transaction quickly, safely, fairly at a fair market value at your driveway, completely frictionless. That's what we do best. Others are, again, geared to put something in your driveway, whether you have to go to them or whether they come to you. But,
Right.
Yeah, there's definitely some differentiators here between us and them in many different ways. But
So I did have a customer recently that had the opportunity to buy his sister's car. It was a different car for him, and he wanted to just unload his car. And he's like, I really don't want to go to Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or whatever the popular thing is to do. Cause when I was a kid, it was like you put it in the paper, and
Yeah.
so I was telling him about your website, and he was going through it, and then we stumbled across the hurdle of not being in our state, and he unfortunately decided to go a different way because of the length of time it would take him to get to Ohio and meet somebody there.
Yeah.
But walk me through the process of what, you land on your page, and how long does it take? I mean, do you get a real-time offer within minutes?
Yeah. So when we tell you that you can sell your car instantly, we stand behind it. Let me go through very transparently how this works. So any customer anytime can go on whipflip.com. They don't have to download anything, which is great, right? You go right on the website, enter your basic information like your year, make, model, and mileage, and you can at least get like an initial offer, which is just, it's an estimate. Some people don't want to go through the full process, and they say, look, what's my car worth for whatever purposes that they're looking for that number.
Right.
And we provide that to them within seconds. It's instant. It's very quick. Then what we like to do is be super transparent with the customer to continue to guide them through that technology. So step 2 is now lock in the offer. Tell us a little bit more about your car, the condition, any issues with the vehicle. On top of that, this is where a lot of the AI comes in, where we're having them take photos of the vehicle, where it's going to conduct an automated inspection. So we're replacing the hours and the days, everything, you traveling here or there, everyone putting their eyes on it and getting a number hours later. So we're transforming that to happen within only a couple of minutes. And that's how long it takes. So you have a real instant offer in 3 steps, less than 5 minutes, you can sell your car and complete the process. So how that works is typically if you've entered everything correctly, and we always have a cushion in there for the customer, right? So it's not like we're playing a game where like, oh, you didn't enter in the chip on the bumper. Right. We are trying to provide you with a real, you see what I'm saying? Like a real instant offer. We would stand behind, you stand behind, you stand behind the condition, we stand behind our offer, right? And from there, all you do is say your time and day and pickup address of when you want us to come out and buy your car. Consider it sold. That's how we're saying you can sell it instantly. So we deploy a car concierge at that time and day to their address, and they're there to do a quick test drive, make sure it is what it is, and they're there to pay them on the spot, and that is it. They get a buyer's agreement, all the paperwork's done within a couple of minutes, checks in hand, and they're done. So that's the experience, literally from start to finish.
Now, would you meet this person at a bank so that they can verify that the payment they're going to receive is actually legitimate? I mean, this is the questions that were asked to me, and I just thought that, hey, I'll just put it out there. I'm not saying that your company is less than stellar at all, but is that something that's possible?
It's such a fair question. It used to be back in the day when we were maybe buying a car or 2 a day, right? We had the time. We just have too many appointments right now. I believe that when we're going driveway to driveway, there's another customer waiting. Now,
right.
It's the number one question and the number one decision point of a customer to take, their own leap of faith with WhipFlip, and it's a valid one, right? Because, what is the number one objective that the customer is looking to complete is, does the check clear? That's when it becomes real, is when the check clears. Right. We've never bounced a check. We never will bounce a check. And the good news is that the car is not even picked up the same day. Typically, the money is in your account before our transport team even gets to it. So that just gives them peace of mind. Your car's still there. You have the check in hand, deposit it, and you should have it even before the vehicle's picked up. So, for the most part, though, we have evolved a lot. So I think now the hesitation of a consumer saying, hey, can you go to me to a bank? While we want to bend over backwards, literally for any customer to buy every single car on the planet, the timing is not there because we might have to be at an appointment another 20 miles away. We've got 20 minutes to get there, right?
Right.
But customers should have peace of mind that we do have a great relationship with JD Power. We're partnered with some of the biggest and best names in the industry. We've been around for almost 3 years. The reviews don't lie, right? The minute that you bounce a check, you're going to get slammed in 2 seconds on Google, right? Google reviews. We've got hundreds and hundreds of reviews that come in every single day. So we always ask the customer, we understand, but please, it's all there if you go to our site and check us out and check who we actually are partnered with. These are big names like JD Power and Atlas EV, which is another electric vehicle company out there in Silicon Valley where we're doing some stuff with them. we're a PACT Award winner, which is a PACT Award finalist for Tech Startup of the Year in the greater Philadelphia area. So these are just things that I think consumers can easily feel comfortable with as we go forward. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's something that, when customers come into us, I mean, we're always that way too. It's just like, okay, are you going to be able to pay for this repair? And then, I can see where you're coming from as far as, we partner with all these great people, and, we wouldn't do this. This isn't our first one car that we've bought, it's there too. So, that being said, you don't sell cars to the public, you purchase them in. So a customer just wants to evaluate their car. They're thinking about it. They're doing that. What do you guys do? Talk about what you guys do to complete that process. If I go on your site and I was like, stop. I just want to know how much it was worth. And then I kind of am dragging my feet. How do we kind of push them along?
We let the customer make that decision. We're not pushy car salespeople. It comes down to where, they are getting the information that they're requesting, and if it comes down to, do you want to sell the car or not? And if you want to sell the car, do you like our offer? Do you like our service?
Right.
We allow the customer to naturally make that decision. Now, of course, we follow up with them in many different forms, because some customers, have a long range decision-making process. Some can say, I want to sell my car like right now. We're here. I want to sell my car 90 days from now. We're here. I want to sell my car a year from now. We're still here. And that is, like I said, we put the control. Really what this is all about is we've developed technology and a service that gives the customer control of the experience where they have no control prior in other avenues, zero. So we let them go on their own journey. We try to obviously push as best as we can, but we don't want to overdo it and over push, and because they're going to make a decision one way or another. And hopefully we're the winner when they're ready. And if not, we on to the next one, right? That we try to do better with, or purchase the vehicle from a ready to sell customer.
So moving that process along, and because I went through the process just really quickly with the person that I was talking about, his car. And, I've gotten a couple of different follow-up emails, and it's shown me that this is what we were going to do, but we still have to look at it. And I get that, and it's like, you're on the other side of where a customer would be if they went to CarMax or Carvana. And it's just like, well, wait, you didn't tell us about this bad ball joint, or you didn't tell us about this ding on the side. So you guys got to protect yourself a little bit too, but it saves them from going to the dealership. And that's what I hear the most out of those customers that want to buy these cars online and want to do this process online. It's just like, I don't want to go there.
Correct. And so, like I said, I think there's many ways someone can sell a car. Still to today, a lot of the ways are still the same. I'm not a fan of private sale. One of the reasons why we exist. So when you think about how much time it takes, how much time waste happens, how much risk, strangers coming to your door, scammers, et cetera, it can be very frustrating.
We've been down that road. I know people that have been down that road. Trust me.
While I may have a lot of experience, right, and deep domain expertise in this, in whip flip and in the industry. Look, I'm a consumer too, and I created this for all consumers. As a consumer myself, I put myself not necessarily in a tech CEO's shoes. I said, I'm a consumer. I've sold quite a few cars myself personally. It's a terrible process. I hate it. I don't like the trade-in process. Especially don't like dealing with strangers at my door. They waste my time. It's too risky. Like, I'm not interested in any of it. How can I have the place to sell your car, the way to sell your car? So you have to think about it like a consumer. And what I did was I said, okay, imagine if, we can create this like magic genie lamp. I always like talking about our tech like this magic genie lamp. And you get 3 wishes,
okay,
right? And I want to, and I say, okay, I want 3 wishes on how I want to sell my vehicle. And you can look at wish number 1, make it fast. Wish number 2, I want a fair market price. And wish number 3, come to me now, right, and buy it. And so I look at how we can grant those three wishes. I think safety is obviously in that mix
Oh yeah.
within the three, but that's that's how I looked at creating Whip Flip is kind of, can we grant all three wishes? Not one, not two, not two and a half. Can we hit the nail on the head on all three of what the consumer wants for a vehicle transaction? And I think that's why we've been very, very successful in our earliest stages, is that we've hit the nail on the head exactly what the consumer is looking for. We've given them control of the experience that they have never had a control of through our service and technology.
Right. And, working at the dealership for as long as I did, I heard all those comments. Those customers were good customers of mine out in the service department, but when they went to go buy a brand new car, it's just like, oh my gosh, Matt, they're only offering me, so much money for my car. And it's just like, come on, dude. But, and I've purchased a couple of different cars because of that. Hey, they're only going to give us this much for our Impala, and Matt, you've been a great guy, and and I was just like, let me know how much you want for it, and it ended up being, he was satisfied with $500 more than what they offered him, which was a great deal for me. So now I've got a pretty decent car.
But
so
do you know why that happens? And and that's the common practice. And we won't say this against the dealer. Not all dealers are bad. There's definitely some bad ones. There's definitely some bad ones that put a black eye on the rest of the industry, right?
Oh, and it's the same with the auto repair. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Dealers in general, a retail dealer in general is not there to acquire. They're there to distribute, right? So they're there to sell their inventory. Every single dealer, no matter if they have the same type of manufacturer behind them or they're a used car dealer, they know what sells well in their lot and for what price, and they know what doesn't and what ultimately goes to wholesale. For a lot of dealers, wholesale is just a nuisance, and it's a means to an end to get a retail deal complete. So when you're going to dealer A, and let's just say you had the greatest Chevrolet Impala ever, right? That car that you were talking about. And you can even be at a Chevrolet dealer. Why not? It's a match. Chevrolet, cleanest, greatest, lowest mileage Chevrolet Impala ever. Now, some of those dealers will definitely take a good shot at it, but the average one, right? The average Impala that's out there is what they're going to see. They don't have a single ounce of interest in that vehicle. Right. Their goal is saying, how can we get you in the one that we have? Okay, we're going to offer you a market value on your trade based on bias. I don't want to sell it, or I'm not going to sell it well. I have to kind of make an offer that can just minimize my loss when I cut this nuisance loose back into the industry, right? And so you're not getting the full potential value because the dealer's just kind of saying, I'm not really the best buyer you found today, but we can take care of this. And I can get you a better deal on the new car, right? You see how that goes. That's just the common dealership practice. And it's not a bad thing. It's just imagine Whip Flip like that agnostic buyer, like across the board. You have a 2004, you got a 2023, your car's worth 500, it's worth 100,000. It doesn't matter. We are using a real-time market value for what your car is worth in the entire industry that formulates our price. So there's not bias there. Of course, we have trouble selling certain cars versus others. There's definitely cars that we absolutely would love to buy all day because of their sales performance versus others. But at the end of the day, our technology can buy any car at a very real, fair market value, and that's what we're here to do at the end. And when it's all said and done, as many cars as possible, high volume, low margin type of business model, and I think that suits the customer a lot, where they can at least feel that they're getting something that reflects a value that they can agree with at some level. So.
Yeah, and I think if you challenge somebody to actually go and say, okay, go try and get them to buy your car and just buy it. You're not going to go up front and buy a new Tahoe, Matt. No, I just want to sell this car to you and see the reaction you're going to get. And you're right. It's something where they're not going to want a 2007 Impala. It's
and
like,
certain dealers have certain inventory levels too. That's with another customer. So you could have the car that would fit them perfectly if there wasn't another same exact type of car already sitting on their lot that's been sitting there for over 120 days.
Right.
There's so many. I think we're Whip Flip, and one of the things, other than just being a car purchasing service, that we try to do is we provide the the advice to the consumer, the real inside industry advice that this is how it works, and trust us because I've got nothing to sell you, right? And whether you sell to us, we may be able to help with our expertise and advice to put you on the right path to success for what you're trying to accomplish with any type of vehicle transaction. And sometimes we do give consumers, and we take pride in this, and I think they respect us for it, is give them some tough love. Like, it's okay to tell a customer, I know you think your car is the greatest car in the world.
And we all do.
Because you've owned it forever. But I'm telling you, because of gas prices being this, or whatever it is, no one cares.
Right.
Okay? And they're like, how could you say that? And say, just follow us here. But by the end of the conversation, they're looking at it going, wow, okay, I could have wasted months. If I'm going to try to sell it on my own, Roger, I'll come back to Whip Flip later. But like, I just want to take that first step in the process and try it on Facebook. And I say, look, I wish you the best of luck, right? But they're going to try it, but they're at least going to start to put the car at a price point.
Yeah, and that's
that, that fits what the car is, or its real demand or lack of. And guess what? You may have a higher success rate selling it, or get to the decision faster where you need to look at another avenue. And it's funny, we've got reviews from customers. These are some of my favorite reviews from customers that didn't even sell us their car.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, and I agree with you too, that, the process of figuring out how much your car is worth, deciding where you want to put it listed on, let's just say Facebook Marketplace, because it's easy to discuss. And now you've got messages coming in like crazy because you've either overpriced it or you've underpriced it. And we've all made the mistake of not knowing what the value of something is and letting it go for not enough money. So then you're in a bigger problem. So, I recently sold something on Facebook, and it's just trust me, folks, it's a pain in the butt. If they had something like this for motorcycles and power sports and stuff like that, that would be great, because you could sell your Harley Davidson to them, and then you don't have to deal with all the people coming to your house. And that's another concern too, which, and you're a legitimate company and you're coming to their house, you're not going to be casing the place or anything like that. So there's the safety in that too, folks. And again, I'm not saying anything bad about the dealer either, but it's like anything we do in life. It's like you want to buy your house for the least amount possible and then fix it up and maybe sell it if you're into that kind of flipping of houses and stuff. And that's how they do it. They buy them cheap, fix them up, sell them for a lot. That's the name of the game.
And you hit the nail on the head on something, right? So when you're dealing with Whip Flip, and I want to make sure we put this out there to anyone that's maybe interested in us,
right?
We do not send out third parties to your house. These are our W-2'd full-time car concierges. We hire them, we train them, we send them to you. So you're dealing with a Whip Flip, 100% Whip Flip car concierge person to complete the transaction. So I think there are companies out there that kind of have this pseudo to the driveway experience, but they're sending some third party transporter that comes out of the truck, and I don't know, you got to sign this. I don't know, here's your money or whatever. Like, it's not the experience. Like, we think about it like this.
Right.
Could someone feel comfortable telling grandma to sell their car to us? Or would you be comfortable sending us to grandma's house? And that's how we look at it in terms of, our customer experience at the driveway. Why we have our own car concierges. We always will have our own car concierges. They do it the way that we want to do it, and they're our team. And so that's why I think it's very important, in this day and age, because it's just crazy out there, right?
Oh,
you
and
never know who's coming to your house.
That's great to hear, because
for anything.
Yeah, exactly, and that's great to hear.
Predatory when you're talking about a car. It's like you put your car on Facebook Marketplace, you're going to be a bullseye in 2 seconds.
Exactly.
To scammers and people that have unsavory intentions for you sometimes. And I'm not trying to paint a grim picture if you say, "We'll sell your car to Whip Flip or else."
Yeah, and don't get me wrong either. It's I've sold stuff on Facebook Marketplace, which has not been a hassle, but I elected to put something on there for what I thought it was worth. And I got messages that said, hey, dude, you're selling this for way cheaper than you need to. Yeah, I would take it down and relist it. And it's just like, no, I want to get rid of this thing so it's not in my barn. So that's where the other thing comes in. And it's just like, and I'm in the same position too as a repair facility. It's just like we don't have a tow truck, so we have to rely on the tow companies in town. And there's one we deal with exclusively because I know who they are. I know who they employ. Yep. They're a very reputable company. And if they screw up towing your car and drop it on the whatever or run it into something, they're insured. That's great. I love that you have those people that are actually employed by the company that have come out and get that car. And then, so, so I got moving on with that question too, or diving a little bit deeper. I did have another customer a couple of months ago. You know, her husband unfortunately passed away unexpectedly. Mm-hmm. So now she's got his car to get rid of. She didn't need it. You know, this is a perfect opportunity for her or for somebody like that. Or if, you know, a parent, you're somebody, you know, your uncle or whatever, you know, it's so much easier to, you know, if you're not going to keep their car or do something with it, or this process just has got to be something that everybody should look into if they're in that situation, unfortunately.
Let's take a second to talk about that real quick, because I think that, you know, while we are in business to buy and sell cars, right, with Whip Flip, you know, we appreciate these type of situations. Make me super proud to be doing what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I'll tell you why. Think about, right, the estate. Someone passes away suddenly, expectedly, whatever. Again, the car is still a difficult asset to liquidate. Right. And they turn to these private sales sources. As we've said many times on this podcast, right, everyone knows selling a car is extremely difficult. This is probably the last thing that the family even wants to deal with right now and wants to go through. Think about how painful that is. A memory, it's this car. You know, the last thing you want to do is have any hassle getting rid of that memory, getting rid of that asset to complete the estate. And it just is going to be a problem. You just know it. I just think that's sad, right? But when you think about not just what we do, like I give credit, anyone else can make the car selling process easy like we do, then that's where that car should go. And they're helping people. They're really helping people in a tough time. And we are proud to, you know, one of the things I'll say is that is not going unnoticed. And we're proud to partner with, I'll put it to you like this without giving my competitive advantage away, but entities that handle those estates on behalf of on behalf of the consumer. And we've been the go-to source because we've made it that easy.
Right.
And that painless. And it's just like done, right, to do that. And that's just something, if we can look at definitely a section of our customer base that we feel real great about helping, it's that. And it's that, and it's the military. I'll give kudos to the military as well. People going on deployment, and there's two really good customer bases that get us pumped every day to continue to get bigger and get better. It's just serving the military. It's serving, you know, folks in tough times. It's serving the elderly, you know, you name it, right? The folks that really need the help. So,
right, because in the military, you're deployed for a long time, and if you don't have a place to store your vehicle, then, you know, that's,
they mostly sell them.
Yeah,
it's an asset. They come when they're here. They'll buy a car, and a lot of times they're buying really nice cars. They buy a car, they drive it for a few months, right, and they get the deployment notice and they got to go.
Yeah.
And the car normally goes with, and car normally has to get sold. Funny enough, it's just, you know, they downsize it, they sell the car, and off they go.
Yeah. And especially if they get stationed overseas, and, you know, they can't take the car with them unless they're going to pay to ship it over there on a boat. And all of them are coming from, you know, all the boats are tied up coming from China or whatever. And so things are in bad shape as far as that goes. Anyway. So, yeah, I mean, you got to partner with people that will help you out in your business. And that is great to hear, because as soon as you come to Michigan, that's going to be a big deal for me, because we have this opportunity come up constantly in my in my business where, it's just like, do you know anybody that's got a car? And then do you know anybody that can buy my car? And so this will help out a lot. And like I say, the lady that unfortunately lost her husband suddenly was a very good customer of ours. And, funny enough, it was another Impala, and it was a newer one. And, I went on Kelly Blue Book out of value for her. And she was talking about trying to sell it to one of the other online car buying sites. And, she wasn't really thrilled with the offer that she got there. And so I kind of just stepped in and said, hey, this is what it would be worth for me to take it or buy it from you. And, we went ahead and moved forward with that. And then I ended up selling it to one of my service advisors who needed a car. And so it kind of worked out for all parties. And, so yeah, I can see where that you're coming from as far as that giving you excitement in knowing that that I could help that lady out as far as getting this out of her hair. And, and obviously you're exactly right. It's one of those things where, I remember when my father passed away and my mom was just like, what do I do? And then that's the thing. It's like, they're more concerned with the other assets. Like, how am I supposed to get all this other stuff? And I mean, the car is just like, okay, if that process would be way simpler than what it was, I think my mom would have definitely jumped on that if you were around back in 2005. So what's a day in the life of Roger Clappe? What happens all day?
I don't wish it upon anybody. No, I'm kidding. It's exciting. It's building companies like these, tech companies like these in this industry. It is hyper competitive. It's now starting to go through really good change, digital transformation, automation, and trying to be on the leading edge of that. It's hard. It's not easy, but I think every single day, I put it all on the line here. There's no doubt about it. I bootstrapped this company from day one. It's quite expensive to operate a model like this.
Right.
But I went all in and we built something now that's in, several states and starting to keep moving across the country. And we have a great team behind. So I think that's kind of really a day in the life of me, just to answer the question directly, is continue to be like this great traffic cop, right? For great team members here that are responsible for their respective departments and bringing things to the table and continue to innovate, continue to be agile, continue to move forward. So it's kind of like I divide my day into two shifts. And my bedtime, just to give everyone maybe a little bit more of a personal look into what I do, my bedtime is probably no earlier than 2 a.m.
Ooh, wow.
I'm up at kind of that 7 a.m. Ish. I'm not the early riser, but I'm probably up at 7:30, ready to kind of get going. And I kind of look at the daily shift of Whip Flip, right? So I punch into the daily shift of Whip Flip. We're live, right? To get business. We are our team's here working, right? We make sure I serve them. Obviously talking to our partners, our vendors, continue just to move the needle during the daytime. And then what I really enjoy though is when it's over for the day. We typically wrap up about 6-7 o'clock. Obviously we'll go home, have dinner with the family, and they're normally early risers, so they're in bed a lot earlier than I am, and I just kind of sit there with my thoughts, whether it's fun or not fun, but it's always good to get challenged with your, with just when everything's just kind of like quiet, right? You're at night and you're still thinking, what are we going to do tomorrow?
You get a lot
I'm
done.
always thinking about what do we need to do tomorrow? I can think about more long-term strategy. I can figure out how we can lead our teams better. And that's kind of like I look at my second shift of the night. And so that is a day in the life of me. Like I said, I joke in a way that I don't wish it upon anyone, but I'm a 12-year startup veteran. I've been at the ground floor of very, very successful startups that have gone national. I'm very used to this feeling. I'm very used to the time and sacrifice that's needed. It's the bet that you have to make with yourself and the sacrifice you have to make with yourself as the founder and CEO of this company. You've got a lot of people and a lot of families that you've brought into this company relying on you. Our customers rely on us.
Right.
And so, that pressure, you got to take the time every single day to continue to advance your position.
Yeah, and it does. I owning a repair facility and having a business. It's like when I first decided to do that, it was just like, think about standing up on that high dive up there and jumping off, hold your nose, and here you go into the water. And that's what it felt like. And, when I first started my business, it was like a couple weeks in and I was just like, oh boy, what did I do? We weren't too busy right off the bat. But then over time, it's just evolved into what it's evolved into. Moved locations, bigger facility. Got 5 people working for me now. It's just I can totally understand. So, where was your last vacation? Where did you go somewhere on a vacation recently?
Well, in recent events, it actually was. I took my first vacation in 3 years about a month ago. So my wife and I, we have a young son, decided to go on a cruise. I love the cruise. It's so we
cool.
left kind of the local one. So it was kind of a nice 7-day complete getaway. And I guess it did require the ultimate discipline out of me, which I
turn the phone
according
off.
to her, I'll say I stayed the course and I didn't tap into work at all. So
yeah, that's hard to do.
No, it's very hard to do, especially when you're in the infant stages. But like I said, we're in a much different position now than when we were even a little bit over a year ago, where literally it was just me. And we had, 3 other people. We had a couple of car concierges and we had a couple like light managerial level positions. And now we have a good senior management team that's under us. And look, if I'm gone, business continues, right? It's sustainable. And I got to give them credit. They made my vacation 100% enjoyable because look, they took care of any issue that happened. And we had a very good week that week for Whip Flip under their management. So,
yeah. And sometimes it's really liberating to be able to not have cellular service for your phone. I know we went on a trip.
I did get the internet package.
Yeah. This is like Wi-Fi jammer on the boat.
Yeah.
You definitely need something like that. Well, it was good to talk to you. I am so glad that I got to talk to you about this. Folks, it's called whipflip.com. You can go there and sell your car on their website. It says 3 easy steps. They will get their own personal concierge to you and pick up your car and do the paperwork and everything.
Free of charge.
Yeah, free of charge. And they will give you a better deal than you would trading it in. Again, thanks, Roger, for joining us on the All Automotive Podcast.
Matt, pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having us.
Okay. Thank you, buddy. All right. That's going to do it for another episode of the All Automotive Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Clausen. Big thanks to Roger Clappe for being on the show today. We really appreciate it. Again, folks, his site's called whipflip.com. You're looking to sell your car, that's the place to do it. We really appreciate your support of the All Automotive Podcast. I want to remind you that we're on all major podcast platforms. Leave us a like, subscribe, and leave us a review. It all helps. Until next time, I'm Matt Clausen saying, keep the greasy side down.